Don't you dare think you're going to get away with this, Kira.
The words hit her like a slap, Dean Morrison's eyes cold and unforgiving as she tossed Kira's scholarship letter into the trash. You missed your final exam, on purpose, and now you'll pay the price. You don't get to be a hero in my school. Kira's breath caught in her throat, her heart pounding. She had made a choice, to save a life, to do the right thing. But at what cost? The exam was gone. Her future was slipping away. And all she could do now was watch as everything she'd worked for teetered on the edge of ruin. If you're hooked in and you're ready to enjoy this story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow I will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one. And you don't want to miss it. Now back to the story. It had all started just hours earlier. Kira had spent months preparing for this moment. Her final exam was set for 8 a.m., and every second counted. She had burned the midnight oil, studied endlessly, sacrificed her time and energy. But then, at 7:40 a.m., her phone buzzed. A reminder, and the clock was ticking. Just as she was about to leave, she heard screams echoing through the hallway. Her heart skipped a beat. Kira rushed to her window, peering out. Below, a young woman lay unconscious on the pavement, blood spreading beneath her head. Panic rippled through the crowd of passers-by, but no one stopped. No one moved. Without thinking, Kira grabbed her medical bag and dashed out the door. Her future, her exam, faded in the distance as she knelt beside the woman, her medical instincts kicking in. The world might continue to turn without her, but Kira couldn't walk away. She pressed her hands against the wound, trying to stop the bleeding, and prayed for the ambulance to arrive in time. Her phone buzzed again. The exam had already started. Kira ignored it. What mattered now was the life in front of her. But when the ambulance arrived, the young woman was barely conscious, and Kira watched as they loaded her into the vehicle, her hands still covered in blood. It was too late for the exam. She had missed it, by minutes. The reality of her decision hit her hard as she sat alone in her dorm room 3 days later, waiting for an email from a university. The inbox remained empty, but the silence was shattered by the sound of revving engines outside. Kira's heart skipped again. 12 luxury cars, sleek, polished, and gleaming, lined her street. She had no idea who they belonged to. But when the doors of a black limousine opened, a familiar face stepped out. The woman Kira had saved. Kira's mind raced. What was going on? The woman she had helped, Emma Richardson, was now standing on her doorstep, flanked by legal experts and PR teams, the daughter of a billionaire tech mogul. What did this all mean? Kira hadn't saved Emma for recognition. She had done it because it was the right thing to do. But now, it seemed that her decision had set off a chain of events that would change everything. 3 days crawled by like weeks. Kira refreshed her email obsessively, each time hoping to see something, anything, from the university about her missed exam. But her inbox remained stubbornly empty, save for promotional emails and study group notifications that now felt painfully irrelevant. She barely ate, barely slept. The weight of her decision pressed down on her chest like a physical thing, making it hard to breathe. Had she thrown away 4 years of grueling pre-med work for nothing? Her roommate, Maya, tried to comfort her, but Kira could see the worry in her eyes too. On the third morning, Kira was jolted from her anxious stupor by an unfamiliar sound, the deep, throaty purr of expensive engines. 1 car, she thought. Then 2. Then more. She moved to her dorm window and froze. 12 vehicles lined the street below. Sleek sports cars in metallic finishes. Massive black SUVs with tinted windows. 2 stretch limousines that looked like they belonged to heads of state. Students had stopped walking, phones out, recording the spectacle. Kira's heart hammered against her ribs. This couldn't be for her. It couldn't be. But then car doors opened in synchronized precision, and men and women in crisp suits emerged, some carrying briefcases, others tablets, one speaking urgently into a phone. And standing at the center of it all, looking up directly at Kira's window, was the woman from the coffee shop. Emma. She looked completely recovered now, dressed in an elegant cream coat, her dark hair pulled back, revealing a face that radiated both gratitude and determination. Behind her stood what could only be lawyers, PR specialists, and security personnel. Kira's phone buzzed. A text from Maya, who was in class. "OMG, are you seeing this? There's like a motorcade outside our dorm." Someone knocked on her door. Kira opened the door with trembling hands. Emma stood there, perfectly poised, flanked by an intimidating wall of professionals in designer suits. Up close, she was even more striking than Kira remembered, composed, confident, radiating the kind of quiet authority that came from a lifetime of privilege. "Kira," Emma said warmly, extending her hand. "I'm Emma Richardson. I believe we've met under rather dramatic circumstances." Richardson. The name hit Kira like a freight train. Richardson Tech. The company behind half the devices on campus. Emma's father, Marcus Richardson, was one of the wealthiest men in the country. Yes, Kira managed, shaking Emma's hand. "How are you feeling?" "Alive, thanks to you." Emma's smile was genuine. "May we come in?" Minutes later, Kira's tiny dorm room was packed with lawyers and PR specialists, their presence making the space feel even smaller. Emma sat beside Kira on the worn futon, while a silver-haired attorney named Patterson outlined their gratitude package. "We've already contacted Johns Hopkins," he said crisply. "Your situation has been explained. The exam will be rescheduled, and any academic penalties waived. We've also established a scholarship fund in your name." "Wait." Kira held up her hand, her stomach churning. "I don't want this." The room fell silent. "Kira," Emma began gently, "I didn't save your life for this." Kira gestured at the lawyers, the briefcases, the orchestrated corporate benevolence. "I did it because it was right. I don't need to be rescued." Emma studied her for a long moment, something like admiration flickering in her eyes. "You think accepting help makes you weak. I think earning things myself makes me strong." "And what about when the system is broken?" Emma leaned forward. "You did everything right, Kira. You saved a life. Should you really be punished for that? Is that the world you want to accept?" Kira hesitated, the question hanging heavy between them. The conference room at Richardson Legal felt like another world. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, mahogany table so polished Kira could see her reflection, crystal water glasses that probably cost more than her textbooks. Patterson spread documents across the table like a general planning war. Johns Hopkins has a zero-tolerance policy on missed examinations. No exceptions, regardless of circumstance. "That can't be legal," Emma said sharply. "It's not illegal," another lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Chun, interjected. "Just unforgiving. We found 3 similar cases in the past decade. All denied appeals." Kira's chest tightened. "So that's it? 4 years gone." "Not necessarily." Patterson pulled up an email on his tablet. "We've formally requested an exception based on medical emergency circumstances. But the dean's office has been unresponsive." Unresponsive or evasive? Emma's jaw set in a way that suggested she knew the difference. Both, likely. Universities protect their policies fiercely. Any exception sets precedent. Kira stared at the pile of regulations, forms, and denial letters from past students. The system wasn't just broken, it was designed to be immovable. Fair or not, rules were rules. "I shouldn't need a billionaire's legal team to do the right thing," Kira said quietly. Emma touched her arm. "You shouldn't. But you have one anyway." "This isn't how I wanted." "Kira." Emma's voice was firm but kind. "Sometimes principle is a luxury. I'm not asking you to compromise who you are. I'm asking you to let me fight a system that's already failed you. Chen cleared her throat. We've started looking into the university's history. Donor relationships, board connections, past policy overrides for influential families. She met Emma's eyes meaningfully. There are always exceptions. They just don't advertise them. Kira felt something cold settle in her stomach. The truth was uglier than she'd thought. Chen's laptop screen glowed in the dimmed conference room. Look at this. She pulled up a spreadsheet, dozens of names, dates, circumstances. Students who'd missed exams for emergencies, medical crises, family deaths, car accidents. Notice anything? Chen asked. Kira scanned the columns, her pulse quickening. The pattern was unmistakable. White students, especially those with prominent family names, exceptions granted. Students of color, denied. Every single time. Oh my God, Kira whispered. Michael Torres, grandmother's funeral, Chen read aloud. Denied. Jennifer Park, hospitalized for appendicitis. Denied. Marcus Williams, pulled from a burning building as a volunteer firefighter. Denied. She looked up. But Christopher Whitmore III, who missed his exam because his yacht was delayed returning from the Hamptons. Exception approved within 24 hours. Emma's expression hardened. How far back does this go? 15 years of documented bias. Kira felt sick. She'd thought her situation was just bad luck, bureaucratic inflexibility. But this was systematic. Intentional. We're going public, Emma said decisively. Within 48 hours, Kira's story was everywhere. Not just local news, national headlines. Hopkins pre-med student punished for saving a life. Investigation reveals pattern of racial bias. The Washington Post. CNN. NPR. Emma's PR team had orchestrated a perfect storm of exposure. The university's carefully polished image cracked wide open. By day 3, students flooded the main quad. Hundreds of them, holding signs, "Justice for Kira." Exceptions for the rich, rules for the rest. Black Lives Matter in academia too. News helicopters circled overhead. Kira stood at her dorm window, watching the sea of protesters, and felt tears sliding down her cheeks. She wasn't alone. She'd never been alone. Her phone buzzed. An email from the dean's office, marked urgent. Emma, beside her, squeezed her shoulder. Ready? Kira nodded. Let's finish this. The boardroom was cathedral-like, vaulted ceilings, portraits of distinguished alumni lining oak-paneled walls, a massive table where 12 board members sat like judges at a tribunal. Kira's hands were clammy. Emma, beside her, radiated controlled fury. Dean Morrison, a silver-haired man in an expensive suit, attempted a diplomatic smile. Ms. Richardson, Ms. Thompson, we appreciate your concerns. However, university policy is racist. Emma's voice cut through the room like a blade. She stood, and the projector behind her lit up with Chen's spreadsheet. 15 years. 47 cases. Students of color denied emergency exceptions at a rate of 94%. White students, especially donor family members, approved at 78%. The board members shifted uncomfortably. Christopher Whitmore's yacht delay, Emma continued, clicking to the next slide. Approved. Kira Thompson saving my life? Denied. She leaned forward. Explain the difference. This is taken out of context, a board member stammered. Context. Emma's laugh was sharp. The context is that my father donated $12 million to this institution last year. The context is that I'm standing here alive because of Kira's courage. The context is that if she were white and wealthy, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Kira found her voice. I just wanted to help someone. I didn't think I'd have to choose between being a good person and being a doctor." Her words hung in the air, heavy with truth. Outside, chants filtered through the windows. No justice, no peace. Morrison's phone buzzed. Then another board member's. Then another. Chen smiled slightly. The press conference was streaming live. Within hours, #JusticeForKira was trending nationally. Students at Harvard, Yale, Stanford flooded their own quads, demanding policy reviews. Morrison's face had gone ashen. We'll form a committee." Emma's eyes were steel. "You'll do better than that." The official university statement arrived at 6 p.m., released simultaneously to every major news outlet. Johns Hopkins University acknowledges systemic failures in our emergency accommodation policies. Effective immediately, we are implementing comprehensive reforms. Kira read the words 3 times before they felt real. Her exam would be rescheduled. Her scholarship restored. But more than that, everything was changing. The new policy was revolutionary: an independent review board for all emergency requests, mandatory bias training for administrators, transparent reporting of exception statistics by demographics. Students would no longer be at the mercy of arbitrary decisions made behind closed doors. "They're naming it after you," Emma said, reading from her phone. "The Kira Thompson Emergency Accommodation Protocol." Kira's throat tightened. Her name, her actual name, would be attached to policy that would protect thousands of students for years to come. Students who looked like her. Students who'd been invisible to systems designed to exclude them. Maya burst into the dorm room, tears streaming. "Did you see? They're implementing it at Georgetown too. And Duke just announced a full policy audit." She grabbed Kira in a fierce hug. "You changed everything." But it was the email from a freshman named Destiny that broke Kira completely. "I'm a first-generation student from Detroit. My mom got sick last semester, and I almost dropped out because I missed 2 exams. Nobody cared. But because of you, I got to retake them. I'm still here. Thank you for fighting for people like us." Kira pressed her palms against her eyes, overwhelmed. Emma squeezed her shoulder. "You didn't just save my life that day, Kira. You saved your own too. And you're going to save countless others as a doctor." "When I'm a doctor," Kira corrected, a smile breaking through her tears. "When," Emma agreed. Outside, the celebration continued. But here, in this moment, Kira finally let herself breathe. 6 months later, Kira watched from the gallery as Senator Williams presented the Good Samaritan Student Protection Act to Congress. "No student should ever face academic penalty for saving a life," Williams declared, and Kira felt goosebumps rise on her arms. Her story, her impossible, terrifying story, had become law. 12 states had already passed similar legislation. Universities nationwide were scrambling to revise their policies before federal mandates forced their hand. Emma sat beside her, scrolling through her tablet. "The Richardson Foundation Scholarship Fund hit $5 million in donations this month," she said quietly. "We've already awarded grants to 47 students." The Emma Richardson Equity Scholarship specifically targeted students of color facing academic hardship due to emergency circumstances, medical crises, family obligations, acts of service. Each recipient received full tuition coverage, stipends for living expenses, and access to legal support if needed. 47 futures, Kira murmured. "That's incredible. 47 students who won't have to fight the way you did." Emma's smile was soft. "Though I suspect many of them have your same fire." 2 years later, Kira stood in her cap and gown, the weight of her medical degree finally real in her hands. Johns Hopkins Medical School, class of 2027. The auditorium erupted as her name was called, not polite applause, but a standing ovation that went on and on. Students, faculty, even the board members who'd once tried to silence her, were on their feet. Emma was in the front row, cheering louder than anyone. Afterwards, as Kira posed for photos with Maya and her tearful mother, a young black student approached nervously. "Dr. Thompson," she said. Thank you. I'm pre-med because of you. Because you showed me I belong here." Kira pulled her into a hug, remembering that day in the coffee shop, the choice that had seemed so simple, so impossible. "You do belong," Kira whispered. "And don't let anyone tell you otherwise." The emergency room hummed with controlled chaos, monitors beeping, nurses rushing past, the sharp antiseptic smell that Kira had once only known from the other side. Dr. Kira Thompson adjusted her white coat, still startled by her own reflection in the glass doors. The title felt surreal, earned through years that had nearly been stolen from her. "Dr. Thompson, we need you in trauma too," a nurse called. A young woman, unconscious, skin ashen. Anaphylactic shock. Kira's hands moved with practiced precision, epinephrine, airway assessment, vital stabilizing. The same emergency that had once derailed her entire life, she now resolved in minutes. As the patient's breathing steadied, Kira felt the full weight of that day in the coffee shop. If she'd walked past Emma, if she'd chosen her exam over a stranger's life, she wouldn't be here. This patient wouldn't be breathing. Every choice mattered. Every life mattered. That evening, Emma met her for coffee, at a different shop, by unspoken agreement. "Senator Williams wants you to testify next month," Emma said, sliding a folder across the table. "Federal Education Reform Committee." Kira flipped through the brief. More policies to change, more battles to fight. "I'm in," she said without hesitation. Emma grinned. "I thought you might be. We're also launching a mentorship program, connecting pre-med students of color with professionals who've navigated these systems. Let me guess, you want me to lead it? Only if you have time between saving lives and changing legislation." Emma's tone was teasing, but her eyes were serious. "The system's better than it was, Kira. But it's not fixed. It never will be if we stop pushing." They clinked their coffee cups together, an odd toast, but a meaningful one. Outside, the city rushed past. Somewhere, a student was making an impossible choice. Somewhere, another was fighting a broken system. But now, they wouldn't fight alone. Kira had made sure of that.
Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.